And of course, the day before President Rouhani said that at the United Nations today, President Trump had said the United Nations were not backing off of the sanctions. So this is sort of an immovable object meets an irresistible force. I don't see how either side, though, is getting closer to their goals, whether it's Iran or the United States.
I think the U.S. is calculating that with sanctions going on for the next several months, if not few years, that eventually the regime in Tehran is going to have to negotiate. President Trump has said reportedly that he thinks they're going to come to the negotiation table. Of course, the Iranian regime doesn't want to appear weak. And doesn't want to appear that it's giving in under immense pressure. And I think we can't really underestimate the impact the sanctions are having on the Iranian economy. This is a regime that depends on oil exports, and their oil exports have declined by 90%. It's a humongous number.
There's no question, I think, in anybody's mind that the people of Iran are suffering from these sanctions, and so therefore it is affecting clearly the Iranian economy. The question is how much pain can they endure, but also what they might do in response. We've already seen those attacks. The United States says, most people seem to agree, came from Iran either directly or indirectly on the Saudi Arabia oil fields. Can we expect more of that sort of action?
Well, as pressure increases on Iran, especially economic pressure, we'll see that the regime will want to retaliate more than before, especially conducting attacks like we just saw against Saudi Arabia. And I think this is a danger of not having a very strong response, that the regime in Tehran feels like it can really push the boundaries. There are analysts and policymakers in D.C. who hope that the Iranian people might rise up under sanctions and pressure. Of course, there are a lot of reasons for dissatisfaction in Iran, and the economy is not just the only reason. I think the regime in Tehran faces a lack of legitimacy, and sanctions are going to just drive up the sense of dissatisfaction in Iran. Will they lead to the regime's collapse? It's very hard to tell how weak this regime is or how brittle it is. It commands very effective security forces, is very violent. At some point, I assume that the regime has to be more flexible and come to the negotiation table. But also, it's very well aware that its credibility and really survival is at stake here. And so that's why when Rouhani says the Middle East is on the verge of collapse, I don't think the Middle East is on the verge of collapse, but he might be worried his regime perhaps is.